We will like to welcome you on Briefings in Technology. This hour in perspective, we are exploring the de-Americanization of China's chip sector, or better still, how China is remaking its chip business. Let's get started. Chinese corporations are doubling down on domestic supply chains and garnering billions of dollars in funding from the Chinese government, as well as investors 7 months after the United States government imposed stringent restrictions. Facilities for Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation in Shanghai, which is one of the 2 largest chip makers in China. This year, the corporation has revealed plans to make investments totaling billions of dollars in order to expand into more complex jobs. Credit, for the New York Times, to Lai Shen. In October of last year, the development plans for a massive semiconductor facility in central China that was going to be controlled by a big state-backed firm plunged into turmoil. The trade war over technology had been deepened by the administration of former Vice President Joe Biden, cutting off China's access to the Western tools and experienced employees it required to produce the most cutting-edge semiconductors. A number of workers with American citizenship have resigned from their positions at the company. 3 different equipment vendors in the United States stopped their shipments and services almost immediately, and it is anticipated that Europe and Japan would shortly follow suit. The building belongs to Yangtze Memory Technologies Corporation, also known as YMTC, which is a corporation that manufactures memory chips. President Xi Jinping of China has lauded YMTC as a leader in China's push to become more self-sufficient. At this time, the chip manufacturer and its competitors are frantically revising their business plans and updating their supply chains. China's ambition for a more autonomous semiconductor sector has been increased as a result of trade barriers imposed by the United States nearly 7 months later. Even while Western technology and money have backed out of the market, state investment is pouring in to foster local alternatives that can make semiconductors that are less advanced but nonetheless lucrative. And China has not given up on the production of high-end chips. Manufacturers are seeking to work with older parts from outside that are not barred by the sanctions imposed by the United States, in addition to less modern equipment produced in China itself. The tight limits imposed by the United States were a reaction to what government authorities in Washington, D.C. perceived to be a threat posed by China's utilization of its own technological enterprises in order to enhance its military capabilities. Recently, Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, characterized the sentiment as being part of a new consensus in Washington that decades of economic integration with China was not wholly successful. He added that the new controls were carefully tailored to go after China's most cutting-edge semiconductors in order to combat this sentiment. According to the guidelines that were implemented in October, American businesses and citizens are no longer permitted to provide assistance to any Chinese company that are developing semiconductor technology that meets a particular threshold of sophistication. The regulations went further than the trade restrictions imposed by the Trump administration, which targeted particular businesses such as the Chinese telecom firm Huawei. A chip that was produced and displayed in 2018 by Yangtze Memory Technologies Corporation, a business that specializes in memory chips. YMTC is an important participant in China's efforts to become independent in the field of chip fabrication. Image courtesy of Oriental Image, courtesy of Reuters Connect. During those early instances of economic tension, Beijing committed significant resources to the development of domestic alternatives to Western chip manufacturers. However, since foreign components were easily accessible and of a superior quality, many Chinese companies were unwilling to make the changeover. The concerns over the use of components originating from China appear to be diminishing. Chinese technology companies all the way up and down the supply chain are evaluating how they can replace Western chips and related components, including those that are not impacted by limitations imposed by the United States. In February, Guangzhou Automobile Group, a state-owned electric vehicle manufacturer, stated that it planned to eventually purchase all of the around 1,000 chips used in its vehicles from Chinese vendors. This goal was stated with the intention of eventually achieving this goal. At the moment, 90% of its chips come from international suppliers. The goal now in China in a lot of areas is to de-Americanize supply chains, said Paul Triolo, the senior vice president for China at Albright Stonebridge Group, a strategy consultancy. Worker shortage in the United States. America's semiconductor industries, bolstered by billions of dollars from the federal government, plan to create thousands of new employment. However, there is a possibility that there won't be enough people to fill them. Putting your money on fewer chips. Chiplets are a method of designing chips for improved performance, and they have become an important component of the industrial policy of the United States. However, implementing this strategy on a domestic level is difficult. This year, dozens of Chinese companies that manufacture chips are nearing completion of plans to raise capital by issuing shares to the public. These companies include Huahong Semiconductor, which is China's second-largest chip manufacturer, as well as a chip toolmaker that is funded by Huawei. There are no signs that the disagreements over technology that have been going on between the world's two largest economies will be resolved anytime soon. New restrictions that would ban American venture capital investments in advanced chip businesses in China have been prepared by the administration of Vice President Joe Biden, but they have not yet been disclosed. According to data from PitchBook, which tracks private financing, the amount of foreign investment that has been funneled into China's semiconductor sector so far this year has already fallen to $600 million. Marking its lowest point since the year 2020. In addition, government officials are contemplating imposing stricter regulations on technologies such as chip production equipment and quantum computing. Beijing has been forced to activate a state fund that had been dormant due to waste and graft because of constraints imposed by the United States. In February, the government's big fund contributed around $1.9 billion to YMTC in order to strengthen its reaction to the restrictions imposed by the United States. According to reports from state media outlets, the fund has also lately invested money in the providers of chip equipment and materials. The new subsidies intend to wean China off of its reliance on Western components in its supply chains. Over 21 billion yuan will be allocated this year by the city of Guangzhou, which is located in the south of China, for semiconductor and other technology initiatives. These projects include those that aim to replace Western chip equipment providers. According to corporate statistics and public announcements, the number of purchase orders for equipment built in China has increased significantly over the past several months. Mr. Tsai has been quite vocal about what he perceives to be an effort by Western countries to enforce what he refers to as an all-around containment of China. In March, during an important legislative meeting, the president of China rudely cut off the words of a delegate from a Chinese crane company. The following dialogue was widely covered by state-run media. "The chips inside your cranes, are they locally sourced?" Mr. Xi asked. Indeed, according to the representative. According to estimates provided by Yole Group, a market research company, less than 1% of all semiconductors produced in China are currently at the industry's top end and are therefore subject to regulations by the United States. According to Jean-Christophe Alloy, Chief Executive Officer of Yole Group, the vast majority of the business is comprised of less advanced semiconductors known as mature semiconductors. These semiconductors can be found in cars and other consumer gadgets that are used on a daily basis. These chips, which were left mostly unaffected by the controls implemented by the Biden administration in October, are now witnessing a boom of investment, he noted. According to public pronouncements, China's two major chip manufacturers, the state-backed Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, or SMIC, and Huahong Semiconductor, have both declared plans to invest billions of dollars this year to expand production into mature chips. According to Handel Jones, the chief executive officer of International Business Strategies, a consulting firm, China's lack of access to world-class tools needed to build semiconductors will hinder its advancement in several advanced areas, such as artificial intelligence and aircraft over the long term. According to estimations provided by the Yole Group, in August of last year, YMTC set a goal to triple its share of worldwide chip production to 13% by 2027. This would put YMTC in competition with chip industry incumbents such as Micron Technology, which is based in the United States. Because the Chinese memory chip manufacturer is having problems building out its second factory, production is expected to decrease, and by 2027, the manufacturer will control only 3% of the market. The investment strategies of multinational corporations that have been active participants in China's semiconductor industry are shifting to focus on other sectors. The main chip manufacturers in South Korea and Taiwan, Samsung and Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, respectively, are planning to invest billions of dollars in new production facilities in the United States. In order to qualify for subsidies from the United States government for its manufacturing in Arizona, the Taiwanese chip manufacturer is required to limit the amount of money it invests in China over the next 10 years. Phoenix, Arizona is home to the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company's brand new manufacturing facility. The chip manufacturer is submitting an application for subsidies in the United States, which, if granted, would require it to place a limit on its investments in China for the next 10 years. Credit: Adriana Zabrowski's work can be found in the New York Times. On the other hand, indigenous businesses are gaining an advantage as a result of the declining foreign influence in China's semiconductor industry, according to industry experts. A semiconductor equipment maker made their debut on the public market in Shanghai 1 month ago. Since it was first publicly traded, the company's shares, Crystal Growth and Energy Equipment, had appreciated by 30%. It's because of the sanctions that there's now space in the market, said Xiang Ligang, the director of a Beijing-based technology consortium, who has advised the Chinese government on technological matters. Ligang has also served as an advisor to the Chinese government. The time has come for us to make progress. The new influx of state funds has the potential to significantly boost China's portion of the worldwide production of lower-end chips. According to a paper that was published in collaboration by the consulting firm Rhodium Group and the Berlin-based think tank Stiftung Neue Verantwortung, it is possible that within the next 10 years, China would be responsible for almost half of the world's production capacity for a certain class of mature semiconductors. According to Jan-Peter Kleinhens, who is also a co-author of the paper, this could result in new supply chain vulnerabilities for international businesses. Putting all of your eggs in one basket is a stupid idea, he elaborated on the matter. This is a bottleneck that has the potential to be exploited. That's where we wrap things up for the time being. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.